are you doing?
I'm trying to drive you to the stove.
Driving Miss Daisy, 9 nominations. Born on the 4th of July, 8 nominations.
Okay, Brandon, later.
My Left Foot, 5 nominations. Those are the 3 leading films this year in the major Oscar categories. And this is our special annual show on Academy Award surprises, those nominations and exclusions that delight and anger us. I'm Gene Siskel of the Chicago Tribune.
And I'm Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times. Let's start this show on the Academy Award surprises right at the top with the nominees for Best Picture. The nominees are Born on the 4th of July, Dead Poets Society, Driving Miss Daisy, Field of Dreams, and My Left Foot. And the surprise in this category is, for me at least, a very obvious one. The omission of the best and most important American movie of the year, Spike Lee's Do the Right Thing. This was a movie that took one day in one New York City neighborhood and turned it into a microcosm of race relations in America today. It was brave, brilliant, a daring movie that made no compromises and invited the audience to decide for itself what was the right thing.
Mr. Radio Raheem, I can't even hear myself think! You are disturbing me! You are disturbing my customers!
It is so clear in my mind that Do the Right Thing was the year's best film that I'm a little stunned that the Academy didn't nominate it, nor did they nominate Spike Lee for Best Director. He did get a screenplay nomination. But maybe I'm not all that surprised. The movie was, after all, a story of the events leading up to a race riot. It was the most painful and honest film I've ever seen about how such a tragedy can develop step by step, and maybe the Academy was turned off by the subject matter. Maybe it was just too abrasive for them.
I think it's too hot to handle for a lot of people. They didn't even check it out. Cassettes were sent, I think, to the entire membership, but the membership is older, it's white, and they didn't embrace this film, which was clearly way out ahead the best film of the year as far as I was concerned. I want to tell you, they prefer race when it's dealt with at a distance, in glory, 100 years ago.
Or in Driving Miss Daisy.
Now,
those are both very good movies, but it's much easier to have a movie about how Miss Daisy and her old black chauffeur like each other than to have a movie about whether or not, the real question in our society today is not whether Miss Daisy likes her chauffeur, but whether Mookie and Sal, the pizzeria man, will ever get to like each other, because until they can talk to each other, race relations in this country are going to be on hold.
I think the film is stronger than any Oscar nomination it was denied. As for Spike Lee not being nominated as Best Director, here are a couple of facts. He's not a member of the Directors Guild of America. I think the directors who nominate other directors know that. He also made a couple of films with non-union crews. I think they know that too. So that's infighting and incestuous, but the big transgression is that the whole membership couldn't recognize the finest film of the year as even one of the 5 best. Now, some other omissions that surprised me in the Best Picture category are Enemies, a Love Story, that rich, moody, sad story of Holocaust survivors, in particular, a man running from one of his 3 wives to another, and then to another.
Do you always like this, or did the war do it?
Also left out as Best Picture, Batman, the year's biggest commercial hit. It was pretty much skunked this year, receiving only a single nomination for its art direction.
Come to me.
You know, years ago, there was a tradition of the year's biggest box office hit receiving a Best Picture nomination. I guess that tradition is truly dead, because Batman did receive some critical praise, as well as $250 million box office and all that cassette money, too.
You know, I went through the nominations in the top 6 categories, and I found that 80% of the nominations were for movies that were released in the last 4 months of the year. I think part of that is because they know that those movies can still be helped at the box office. It's too late to help Batman. Batman has already sold untold millions of copies of video cassettes. So the returns are in. They've made their money on Batman. Why not vote for a picture that still needs them?
Well, I think there are 2 other explanations. One is that they don't remember it as freshly. 2, it's considered action. Action doesn't get Oscar nominations. But there were a couple of pictures early in the year nominated for Best Picture. Field of Dreams is an April film, and Dead Poets Society came out in early June, and that's a change from years past.
Yeah.
Undoubtedly, the biggest surprise of the nominations list, however, of all the nominations, was the omission of Roger and Me as Best Documentary Film. It was also omitted as Best Picture, which I think it deserved a nomination. I thought it was a shoo-in both to be nominated and to win as Best Documentary. The anti-General Motors film had come under fire recently from some journalists who claimed that writer, director, and star Michael Moore had fudged some of his facts, attributing more evils to General Motors and to its chairman, Roger Smith, than they should be held accountable for.
Why don't you send a letter to us, and we will be happy to, as I say, take it under advisement, just as we do all requests to see the chairman.
The big charges against filmmaker Moore are that he didn't indicate that the plant closings had gone on in Flint, Michigan for more than a decade. He made it seem like it just happened in the last couple of years. He also overstated, some people said, the number of people fired by GM, and he overdrew Flint, Michigan as nothing but a bombed-out ghost town. Now, I agree that the film could have been improved if Moore had labeled some of the scenes with their dates, but I don't think he is wrong in the big ideas of his movie, the way corporations have seemed more important than people in the 1980s. Maybe Roger and Me more properly does belong in the Best Picture category. I certainly thought it was one of the 5 best films of the year, and it's a shame that the Academy couldn't find any place for it.
Well, the controversy over the facts in the film is twofold. I mean, on the one hand, Moore has answers to his critics saying that it's more factual than they say it is, and on the other hand, a lot of other documentary filmmakers say that a film's tone lets you know where it stands, and this movie is obviously personal and satirical and isn't meant to be an objective documentary. But there's a more important issue than that, and that is this category is not voted on by the General Academy like the Best Picture is. It's the 5 pictures are nominated by a selection committee, and this is the second time in 2 years that they have denied the Academy membership the chance to even vote on the most important documentary of the year. Last year it was The Thin Blue Line. This year it's Roger and Me. They apparently get in the room and they start thinking, well, is this a documentary or isn't it? And then they say, well, let's take some safe movie about Justice Warren and we can nominate that. It's like South Africa. Everybody gets a vote, but somebody says who you can vote for.
Well, there is we have a nominating procedure, and you could say, I think they could say, hey, this isn't a fair documentary. They could say, and they could say that the essence of documentary is fairness. I don't know how that applies to The Thin Blue Line, by the way.
How does that apply to a lot of other documentaries that have been made? And what about accuracy? Do you believe that a movie needs to be fair in order to be good? Does it need to be accurate in order to be good? This is not a question for them to decide behind closed doors. Let the Academy not vote for it if they don't like it.
Well, what you would be saying is that...
We know a lot of movies that aren't fair that we like.
Most movies aren't fair. Most movies have a point of view by their very nature of them. Most documentaries, it could be argued, have a point of view.
And aren't fair, yes, because they slant things according to...
Well, the person has done the reporting, sees the truth for what it is, and selects shots to portray...
According to his own agenda, yes.
On that basis, I would say that this is a documentary. I also think if you want to throw in the comic elements that obviously overdraw the situation, I think then it qualifies as Best Picture. It got skunked in both categories. That's not fair.
I'm shocked, too. When we come back, we'll talk about the Oscar surprises in the supporting actor category, where, as usual, some leading roles turned up.
What do you want from me? You think this was an easy decision?
Show on this year's Oscar surprises, the nominees for Best Supporting Actor are Danny Aiello, the pizzeria owner in Do the Right Thing; Dan Aykroyd, the wealthy widow's son in Driving Miss Daisy; Marlon Brando, the anti-apartheid lawyer in A Dry White Season; Martin Landau, the murderous eye doctor in Crimes and Misdemeanors; and Denzel Washington, the angry black soldier in Glory. And the biggest surprise inclusion for me this year is Marlon Brando with his 8th nomination. He has only a couple of juicy scenes in Dry White Season, but obviously he still has the magic as far as the Academy's Actors Branch membership is concerned.
I will take your case if only to make it abundantly clear how justice in South Africa is misapplied when it comes to the question of race.
My big surprise of omission is Beau Bridges, the older brother in The Fabulous Baker Boys. Not as glamorous a role as that of his younger brother, Jeff, who wasn't nominated either, but that's the whole point of Beau Bridges' role. He's supposed to be a bit of a nerd. And more disappointment in the supporting actor category, I thought Andre Braugher, as the intellectual soldier in Glory, easily gave that film's best supporting performance.
Well, if you don't mind, I prefer a space with more sufficient reading light.
Oh, I like it when you talk good as white folk.
I'd be happy to teach you.
His name isn't as big as Denzel Washington. The role is not as flashy as Washington's role, but the Macho Academy doesn't seem to like weak-willed men. Andre Braugher, however, is a fine, fine actor, and his performance is worthy of recognition. And Roger, you know what I'm talking about them not liking weak people? Kevin Costner wasn't nominated as actor for Field of Dreams. He's sort of a timid, tender kind of guy.
Same thing for James Spader in Sex, Lies, and Videotape. Everybody out there is so success-oriented.
Yes.
that they're frightened by actors who perform as people who are a little more laid back.
Men. The women can hurt. The women can be flawed.
Yeah, but
the men should be tough. Yeah.
Now, one of the things we talk about every year with the supporting categories is the fact that a lot of ringers get nominated here. Actors who do, in fact, really have the leading roles in their films, but are slipped into the supporting categories because they have a better chance of winning there. This year, there are two perfect examples of that, textbook examples. Danny Aiello is not a supporting actor in Do the Right Thing. He is either the lead or the co-star of the movie, along with the Spike Lee character. And even more obvious is the choice of Martin Landau as a supporting actor for Crimes and Misdemeanors. Ask anyone to describe the film, and they'll tell you it's about this eye doctor who wants to get rid of his mistress. He's the lead, not a supporting player.
I was at a low point when I met you. You turned everything around.
I never said I'd leave Miriam. That's wishful thinking on your part.
What I'd like to see in the supporting actor category is an effort made to support genuine supporting performances. And a good example of that would be Joe Pesci's wonderful work in Lethal Weapon 2, where he does have a supporting role, a great one, and it brings a real freshness to the formula from the first Lethal Weapon movie. Or for that matter, you like to see Brando nominated. So did I. That's a supporting performance. He comes into the movie, he does his thing, he leaves. He's not the lead.
Well, the problem with putting Aiello in this category, and it's done so the studios can more easily get a nomination for their picture, or Landau, and they do this through advertising, and they plant in the actor's branch mind that this is what they should be considered, supporting. And it's what's so insane is that it's the actors. They can't believe that Danny Aiello is a supporting role. That's the lead role in the film. What's so unfair is that by nominating Aiello and Landau in this category is you literally steal a slot from a genuine role.
That's right. Next category, which is supporting actress. The nominees are Brenda Fricker, the supportive mother of the handicapped artist in My Left Foot, Angelica Houston and Lena Olin, both nominated as two of Ron Silver's three wives in Enemies, A Love Story. Julia Roberts, the diabetic daughter in Steel Magnolias, and Diane Wiest as a struggling divorced mother in Parenthood. And here I suppose the positive surprise is the nomination of Brenda Fricker, who was so important to the success of My Left Foot as the mother in a Dublin slum who never loses faith that her severely handicapped son is not retarded, that somewhere inside his crippled body his mind is well and free.
Where are you going, buddy?
What do you think? This man deserves a jar.
And that's the definition of a supporting performance, because without us understanding exactly what kind of a household he came from, we'd have no way of understanding who Christy Brown was. And so his mother is crucial to the success of that film.
That's the distinctive quality of the film, is that we get a lot of scenes in the home. And those are not glamorous scenes. There's nothing glamorous about four people sleeping in the same bed. But the distinguishing quality of My Left Foot is that it is home-centered, and that's where the real work is done in life and in the film. I was surprised that Laura St. Giacomo wasn't nominated for her role as the devious, sexy sister in Sex, Lies, and Videotape. She made a richer character than I think was even written for her. I'd also like to recognize the work of Margaret Sophie Stein, the one wife of the three in Enemies, A Love Story, who wasn't nominated in this category. It was just as good a performance as the others in this film.
I was an innocent girl. I came to him a virgin.
I think the problem is that she was so good and so believable that people didn't think she was really acting. Coming up, some big surprises in the category of Best Actress.
Marriage is like the Middle East. There's no solution.
Ebert, we're looking at the surprises among this year's Oscar nominations. People who we are surprised were included, and people we're surprised were not included. Our next category is Best Actress, and the nominees are Isabella Gianni for Camille Claudel, Pauline Collins for Shirley Valentine, Jessica Lange for Music Box, Michelle Pfeiffer for The Fabulous Baker Boys, and Jessica Tandy for Driving Miss Daisy. And here I think there are a couple of surprises, one of them being Isabella Gianni, who has scored a real upset by being nominated in this category for a French film that not many people have even heard of. It is an Oscar-caliber performance, however, in which she plays a 19th century French sculptress and is completely convincing as the woman descends from artistic brilliance to madness.
Mais tu m'as tout volé! Tout! Ma jeunesse, mon travail, tout!
Tu m'accuses d'avoir gâché ta vie.
Mais j'aurais préféré ne jamais être rencontré! J'aurais préféré être dans un asile!
The other surprise, at least for me, is Pauline Collins' nomination as Shirley Valentine. I don't think she should have been nominated, and here I suppose I'm guilty of a purely personal feeling that the film itself wasn't very good. In fact, I thought it was mannered, obvious, predictable, corny, and not entertaining, and that Pauline Collins' performance didn't help much. So that nomination was a surprise to me.
I think sex is like supermarkets. You know, overrated. There's a lot of pushing and shoving, and you still come out with very little at the end.
Now, I know that she was a person who dominated the entire film. This film is about her.
Right.
She was identified with the role on the stage, where I imagine it would have worked a lot better.
She won a Tony Award, I believe.
Yeah, so maybe that helped her. I don't know.
Well, I think what helps her is that you have a character that middle-aged women can embrace. We don't get many films about characters of her age and not glamorous. You know, for the Academy, 40 years old and
But
glamorous.
what about Kathleen Turner, though? For
that's what I'm
The War
leading
of the
up
Roses?
to. I'm surprised and disappointed with the omission of Academy favorite Kathleen Turner in this category. She gave another great serio-comic performance as the angry wife in The War of the Roses.
Means I am the one who found this house. I bought everything in it.
With my money. It's a lot easier to spend it than it is to make it, honey bun.
You might not have made it if not for me, sweet cakes.
Now, this wonderful film was totally shut out of nominations, and Turner was a casualty of that. I don't think there's an actress around who could have done a better job than she did in this role. She's a comedian of the highest order, and she makes the character, as well as funny, truly tragic. I think it's a great performance. I think that they are ignoring here a everyday kind of story, pitched in a very entertaining way. I think I love this movie.
They're going for the Pollyanna effect again. They'd rather make a movie about some woman who leaves her home and goes off to Greece and lives happily ever after as a waitress or something than a tough, hard, dark movie like War of the Roses. But boy, 10, 20 years from now, who are you going to want to watch?
Well, how about the directing job of Danny DeVito? I'm a little bit surprised that they wouldn't give credit because, you know, Redford got nominated for directing Ordinary People. I think that this is an exceedingly well job.
In its own way, War of the Roses, like Do the Right Thing, is the kind of movie that they go like this about because they don't, you know, they don't feel comfortable. Don't feel comfortable with films like that. When we come back, the surprises in the Best Actor category were two relatively unknown British actors edged out some Hollywood box office heroes.
See you, my princes and my noble peers, these English monsters.
Final category in our Academy Award Surprises show. The nominees for Best Actor are Kenneth Branagh in Henry V, Tom Cruise for Born on the 4th of July, Daniel Day-Lewis in My Left Foot, Morgan Freeman for Driving Miss Daisy, and Robin Williams in Dead Poets Society. Now, what surprised me here are the nominations of Kenneth Branagh and Robin Williams. Robin Williams mixed contemporary comedy with an old-fashioned Mr. Chip-style portrayal of an inspirational teacher. I didn't think he was the best part of the movie. I don't think that mix worked all that well. I much preferred the ensemble work of all the students.
But if any of you have seen Mr. Marlon Brando...
No, with Shakespeare can be different. France, Romans, countrymen. Lend me your ears.
He's doing a bit of a comedy film within a drama. However, I was surprised and delighted with the nomination of Kenneth Branagh directing himself in Henry V.
The mercy that was quick in us of late by your own counsel is suppressed and killed. You must not dare, for shame, talk of mercy.
Is that nomination a surprise? I think so. It's true, it's the kind of classy British production the Academy traditionally favors, but it's not a new role to the movies. I also thought that Branagh might lose out because of comparison with Laurence Olivier, also nominated for the same role 44 years ago. Yet the actors branch did its job well and nominated a great new movie acting talent.
Now, when you mentioned the nomination of Robin Williams, this in a way is the other side of the coin from what we were talking about with the supporting actors, where they put leads in the supporting category. Here we have a supporting actor who's been nominated in the lead. He doesn't have nearly as much time in the Dead Poets Society, probably anyway, as Danny Aiello has in Do the Right Thing.
I bet he has half the time on screen.
And yet it's a supporting performance.
Because he has the big star name.
There you are.
Did you think it was that good a performance?
No. I mean, nominated for Good Morning Vietnam, but not
He
for
did,
this.
yes.
I know, yeah. I don't know if my suggestions in this category are surprises or only disappointments, but I know that two of the best acting performances of 1989 did not get honored this year, and I would have replaced Robin Williams with either one of them. One of them would have been Matt Dillon's work, the best of his career in the brilliant film Drugstore Cowboy. Playing the leader of a pack of dropout outlaws in the early 1970s, he was strong, subtle, and convincing.
How much of this do you want for the box, female? Hey, what do you think I am, some kind of closet pimp? I've never heard of such a violation of women's rights in all my life.
Another great performance overlooked by the Academy was John Cusack's work in Say Anything, where he played a goofy high school kid who has the nerve to go after the smartest girl in the class and learn some lessons about life along the way.
What are your plans for the future? Spend as much time possible with Diane before she leaves.
Now, why weren't they nominated? I think I know why Matt Dillon wasn't nominated, because once again, the movie is the kind of downbeat, heroic, seamy kind of material that the Academy is a little bit reluctant to they want to keep it at a 10-foot.
Well, if it isn't an avowedly an upbeat, entertaining anti-drug film, then they're not going to go anywhere near the subject of drugs. I'll tell you, the big headlines for me, though, go right back to the top of our show. Do the Right Thing and Roger and Me. These are the films, I think, that are going to last the year long. These are the films that people are going to be noticing that were about the time and place of the 1980s.
They're going to talk about those movies in years to come. And what the Academy has done by leaving out those two movies is they've missed the headline on their own story.
Good point. And that's it for this week. Next week, we'll be back with reviews of new movies, including Revenge, starring Anthony Quinn and Kevin Costner fighting over Anthony Quinn's sultry wife. And Where the Heart Is, a comedy about rich kids trying to fend for themselves in a Brooklyn slum. That's next week, and until then, the balcony is closed.
Snowcaps, Raisinets, and Goobers. 3 box office hits starring Nestle Milk Chocolate. Moviegoers give them a definite 2 thumbs up. Redken Classics. Hair care products formulated to create beautiful, healthy hair. So effective, their formulas transcend time. Available exclusively at salons. Rice-A-Roni, the San Francisco treat. Now with 30 flavors, you can serve it every day for a month and never serve the same dish twice. KitchenAid double-door refrigerator, trash compactor, portable convertible dishwasher, and solid-state touch options washer-dryer. All in almond. KitchenAid, for the way it's made.